Ahoy, mate. This is Captain Black Swan, and have I got an episode for you today? We're going to be talking about the dark secret of Dan. And today, let me tell you, according to my compass, we are going into uncharted waters. So let's get sailing. Batten down the hatches. We're going to the coast of the Danites. So let's jump into one of my favorite books, and that is the Book of Judges, to get a little bit more of a perspective. And we're going to tackle this head on. So let's just go to right here. Let's go to Judges, and I'm going to have to zoom in. This is the first edition of the 1611 King James Bible. So we're going to zoom in here. And there's something here that I believe most people miss. So we're going to have to zoom in. This is Judges chapter 18. Let me just make sure you guys can see this. All right. There it is. All right. That should be good. In those days, there was actually, we'll just start from Judges chapter 18. In those days, there was no king in Israel. And in those days, the tribe of the Danites sought them an inheritance to dwell in. For unto that day, all their inheritance had not fallen unto them among the tribes of Israel. And the children of Dan sent their family 5 men from their coasts, men of valor, from Zorath and from Eshtaol. Now, Zorah and Eshtaol is where Samson was buried by his brothers and his family, which is kind of interesting that these Danites come from this area, which tells me right out of the gate they were familiar with the most famous Danite, a warrior, a Nazarite. So picture a group of 600 men that modeled themselves after Samson, wearing the long hair, almost very Viking-ish, and headed out to find their allotment because the area that they felt was too small for them. So we're actually going back to after Joshua allocated land to everyone. There were still 7 tribes that didn't have their own land. Reuben had their land. The half tribe of Manasseh had their land. The tribe of Gad had their land on the other side of the Jordan. And then Joshua had his piece of territory, which is Ephraim. And I believe Judah had their territory, which is massive. It actually encompassed the tribe of Benjamin, because depending on how big your family was or how small your family was, that was the type of land that you got. And if it was too small, you could ask for more land. So in this case, the Danites didn't ask anyone. They just felt that their territory, which was located around the area of Gaza, they went, it's too small here, so we're going to leave. And 600 men, maybe not all of them, but 600 men for sure, left. And they came upon a person's house whose name is Micah, and he had a Levite as his priest, and he agreed to pay him 10 shekels of silver a year. So that gives us an indication of how much, what the value of shekels was in that time. So 10 shekels would be enough for you to live. It might have been the minimum payment kind of thing. It wasn't going to make you rich or anything, but 10 shekels was enough to live off for a year. We know this because that's what Micah offered this Levite priest that actually was moving from place to place to find somewhere where somebody would take him in to be their priest. We'll find out later where this guy came from. And this is what is the most shocking thing. And again, you have to watch this video to the end because this is probably something 90% of people miss. So this is why I do this show, is to show you things that are in the King James Bible that at a surface glance, you just might miss it. You just might miss it if you read it once. But if you read it a bunch of times, all of a sudden something pops out. So we're going to go back, and we're not going to focus on the whole chapter, but we're just going to skim a little bit just to give you a little bit of context. All right. So they decided to go out to find some land. So, and the children of Dan sent their family, 5 men of valor. We'll cover that, to the house of Mike. Okay, so they went for, these are men of valor from their coasts. So the Danites actually originally had the coast of land in Philistine territory. That was their land, but it was just too small for them. So they sent these guys out from where Samson was buried to spy out the land and to search it. And they said unto them, go, search us the land. Who, when they came to Mount Ephraim, to the house of Micah, they lodged there. And when they were by the house of Micah, they knew the voice of the young man, the Levite, and they turned in thither and said unto him, who brought thee hither? And what makest thou in this place? Why are you here? What hast thou here? Like, what are you to do with this person, this one person? And he said unto them, thus and thus dealeth Micah with me. So here's the terms of our agreement. He agreed to pay me 10 shekels. I said, okay. I had an Ephraim and an ephod, and what's the other thing? And a molten image, and also an image, meaning he had the capability, the skills to make idols. So he had a molten image, which is basically you can pour gold or silver or bronze or whatever into this mold, and then out would come an idol, because that's how they would make it. Most likely, my guess is this image that this guy had at his house was an image of Samson. And this might need to be a part 2, but I started piecing this stuff together. I'm like, oh my goodness, this image maker makes images of Samson that people can worship and bow down to them, especially the Danites. So, and he said unto them, thus and thus, and they said unto him, take counsel, we pray thee, of God, that we may know whether which way we go, and shall be prosperous. And the priest said unto them, go in peace before the Lord your way wherein you go. He didn't even pray about it. He just said, hey, you're good to go. Go. Then the 5 men departed and came to Laish, and saw the people that were therein, how they dwelt carelessly after the manner of the Zidonians, quiet and secure, and there was no magistrate in the land that they might put them to shame in anything. There were no laws, no rules. They lived careless. Like, they just lived careless. They didn't need an army, nothing. They didn't make any partnerships. They were too far from the Zidonians, probably under the jurisdiction of the Zidonians, but they're too far away from them. and they had no business with any man, as in they had no tribal relations or anything with any nation. They were just unto themselves, and peace lovers, and they didn't care about protecting themselves. Very interesting. And they came unto their brethren, to Zorah and to Ethtanol, and their brethren said unto them, What say ye? What did you find out? And they said, Arise, that we may go up against them, for we have seen the land, and behold, it is very good. And are ye still? So these guys are very religious too. I can just tell by that. It is very good. So that's an echo of Genesis. And are ye still? Like, why are you standing still? As I'm talking to you, you should be girding up your swords and jumping on your horses. Why are you standing here, you bunch of lazy, no good heathens? That's how they'd probably tease each other. Be not slothful to go and to enter into to possess the land. So they're going to take it over. When you go, you shall come unto a people secure, unto a large land. For God hath given it into your hands, a place where there is no want of anything in the earth. This is why I say they're very religious. They're like, God is on our side, even though I would argue they don't know God at all. Zero. They're idol worshippers, which makes you kind of wonder a little bit why Dan is not in the book of Revelation, and I think it could be because of this. There went from thence the family of the Danites out of Zorah and out of Ethiel, 600 men, appointed with weapons of war. They were going to kick some derriere, and they went up and they pitched in Kiriath Jearim and Judah, wherefore they called the place Manasseh unto this day, and behold, it is behind Kiriath Jearim. And they passed thence unto the Mount Ephraim, and came unto the house of Micah. Then answered the 5 men that went to spy out the country of Laish, and said unto their brethren, Do you know that there is in this house, as they're going by it, an ephod and a teraphim and a seraphim? And they said, and a graven image and a molten image. Now therefore consider what ye have done. And they turned thitherward and came to the house, the young man. They sent the 5 guys inside to Micah and saluteth him. So the Levite was there. And the 600 men appointed the 5 guys to go and have a little bit of a chit chat, and with their weapons of war. So think about it. The Levite sees these 600 men at the gate, and 5 of these guys start raiding the place. They walk in, they start stealing stuff, because they were with the children of Dan, and they stood by entering the gate. So they guarded the gate, these 600 men. And the 5 men went in to spy out the land, and Laish went up and came thither and took the graven image. They stole it, and the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image, and the priesthood, and the entering of the gate. So they wanted this Levite to be their priest. And with 600 men that were appointed with weapons of war, and they went into Micah's house and fetched the carved image, which was probably Samson, the ephod, the teraphim, and the molten image, and then said the priest unto them, What do ye? Like, what the heck are you doing? Like, what is going on here? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? And the molten image, okay, and they said, Hold thy peace. So this is the Danites. They're like, Hold thy peace, and in fact, lay thine hand upon thy mouth, and go with us, and be unto us as a father and a priest. It is better for thee to be a priest unto the house of one man, instead of being a priest unto, or is it better for you to be a priest unto a tribe and a family of Israel? So they're saying, look, there's a whole bunch of us. You get paid 10 shekels of silver for one guy. Imagine the wealth that you would get for taking care of us as a priest when we are 600. So I think the priest thought, man, I am instantly a millionaire. So the priest's heart was glad, and he took the ephod and the teraphim and the graven image and went into the midst of the people. So they surrounded him and took him. So they turned and departed and put their little ones and their cattle and the carriages before them. So they had their family as well. So they would generally let their family go ahead of them, and they would be behind these people because that's how they were used to having their setup. They would always be behind because in Moses' day, when he was setting up all the camps and everything, he actually had the Danites take up the rear guard, which means they were the strongest because if people were going to attack, they're going to attack you from behind because that's usually where the slowest and weakest people are, the elders, the families, the children, all this stuff. So the Danites put their families ahead of them and they took up the rear guard. That was their pattern. That's what they did. So when they were a good way from the house of Micah, the men that were in the house near to Micah's house were gathered together and overtook the children of Dan. They rushed. That means they were irate. They were ticked off and they were ready to go to war with Dan. This is from the house of Joseph, the house of Ephraim. So we're talking about a civil war here. They cried unto the children of Dan, and they turned their faces and said unto Micah, what aileth thee that thou cometh with such a company? So this is the Danites. They're saying, are you freaking mad to come at us with your army? Like, look at the company. Are you mad? And Micah said, and he said, ye have taken away my gods, which I made, and the priest, and ye are gone away with what I have and more. And what is this that ye say unto me? What? Oh, and more. And what is this that ye say unto me? What aileth thee? Like, and you're telling me you just robbed me blind, and you're saying, hey, what's your problem, man? What's your problem, bruh? And the children of Dan said unto him, let not thy voice be heard among us, lest angry fellows run on thee, and thou lose thy life with the lives with the lives of thy household. Meaning, stop flapping your trap. I can't hold these guys back. One of these guys is going to come and slice you apart, and he's going to go and destroy your whole family, and it won't be my fault because I told you to shut your pie hole. And the children of Dan went their way. So they turned their backs to these guys, to the Ephraimites. That's how confident, that's how warrior like these people from Dan were. They're like, hey, look, I can't hold these guys back. If they run you through with their sword, it's not my fault. I told you to shut up. And then they turned and left. So the children of Dan went their way, and when Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back to his house. And they took the things which Micah had made, the priests which he had, and came to Laish unto a people that were quiet and secure, and they smote them with the edge of the sword and burnt their city with fire. They slaughtered them. And it came to pass in those days when there was no king in Israel. Oh, wait, hang on here. There's more. There's more. I can't skip over this. And there was no deliverer because it was far from Zidon, and they had no business with any man. They had no protection. So the Danites slaughtered them, and this was a wicked act. They slaughtered innocent people. They didn't make a truce. They were truceless people, implacable. That's where the hearts of the Danites were. Paul talks about this in Romans. They had no business to any man, and it was in the valley that lieth between Bethron and they built a city and dwelt there, and then they called the name of the city Dan. So Dan becomes one of the most idol-worshiping nation or tribe out of all the tribes of Israel. And we see this in later in First and Second Kings, where Jeroboam builds a golden calf in Dan, and also down in, where's the other place? I want to say it's in Shechem, the other place, but it's evading me right now. The other place should be Bethel. Bethel's the other place. So 2 calves. So they called the name of the city Dan, and after the name of Dan, their father, who was born unto Israel. Howbeit the name of the city was called Laish at the first. So they changed the name from Laish to Dan. And the children of Dan left up the graven image, and Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, he and his sons were priests unto the tribe of Dan until the day of the captivities of the land. So, and they set them up Micah's graven image, which to me was a graven image of Samson, which he made all the time the house of God was in Shiloh. So all the time that the house of God was in Shiloh, this is what the Danites were doing. They ignored the house, the tabernacle set up in Shiloh, and they wanted to have their own gods. So the reason why I wanted to show you the darkness here is they not only did they get the image that, again, to me was probably most likely the image of Samson, and modeled themselves after Samson. Can't be controlled, can't be hamstrung, can't be anything. But they also required or hired Jonathan, the son of Gershom. Do you know who that is? That's the son of Moses. I know it says Manasseh here, but if you change just one letter, it actually is Moses in I think it's in Hebrew. You change the letter, and I think Samuel knew this, and this was kept secret because you don't want to get people excited to go, hey, we have the grandson of Moses leading the charge, because again, Moses assigned Aaron and his sons to be a priesthood, and now we have Moses' grandson leading the Danites into idolatry. And you can look it up. Scholars have wrestled with this. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe me that this is actually the son of Moses or the grandson of Moses, because it's Jonathan, the son of Gershon, the son of Manasseh. And I believe it's Moses right here. It's not a mistake. I look at this as this is hidden, something hidden. Because again, if scholars look at it, they're like, yeah, there's just one letter stroke difference between Moses and Manasseh. And there's only one Gershon in the whole book of the Bible that is the son of Moses. Remember in when he was when he fled Egypt, he had a son, 2 sons. This is one of them. So we're talking about the grandson of Moses helping the Danites. And this is shocking to people. And why do I say that this is all centered around Samson and all this stuff? Because the woman at the beginning of this chapter, maybe I'll make that into another video down the road, I believe is Delilah, because she actually had 1,200 shekels of silver promised to her for turning Samson in. So they gave her the silver. She put Samson to sleep on her lap. And then when Samson woke up, he thought, I will get away as before. I'll shake these people off. And he couldn't. And they plucked out his eyes, and they took him to the temple of Dagon, and they put him in a prison to grind him, and then they brought him out to make sport of him. And he asked the lad that was with him, put my hands on the pillars that support this building. And there's about 3,000 leaders there in that day. And he asked God for revenge for them plucking out his eyes. And when he pushed the pillars, the whole temple caved in and fell apart. And he killed more people in his death than he was alive. That's what you call the Samson option. And I think modern Israel today has that option to push that button. They've done it before, as in the Samson, the greatest, arguably hero savior, which is another word for judge, was willing to commit suicide in order to kill more people. And it wouldn't shock me that that's the thinking when it comes to modern Israel. If you push them too far, they're going to push the Samson option and destroy the whole Middle East. So that keeps the animals back. That keeps the wolves back from trying to destroy Israel. But there will come a day that when you try pushing that button, it won't work, or you won't have time, and they're going to just engulf Israel. They're not going to make it extinct, but this is why some of the nations go against Israel. They don't like the idea that they can push that Samson option and destroy everyone around them, make it like a wasteland. So we have all this stuff, and we have what I believe this woman in the same chapter, she had 1,200 shekels of silver, and she was going to give some of it to Micah, but Micah stole the 1,200 shekels of silver for himself. And then he said, you remember that one that you said was, remember that money that you put aside that said it was cursed? Why was it cursed? Because she betrayed someone. She betrayed someone that she loved, which was Samson, just like Judas betrayed Jesus. You can understand it if it's from an enemy, but if it's from someone that you care about, a friend, a lover, that's hard to take. So she took that silver and said, this silver is cursed. And she ended up giving 200 shekels to Micah to have to buy a molten image maker. It's basically like, think of it as today as a 3D printer, so that he can make images. And he's from Ephraim. So there's all kinds of stuff going on. He lives in Ephraim, where Joseph's tribe hung out. These tribes are all intermixing with each other, by the way, all through Judges. They're intermarrying with the Canaanites. They're mixing. They're marrying whoever they want to marry. This has been the history of Israel in the book of Judges for arguably 400 years. They're doing this. They're mixing. They're going with the Philistines. They're going with any of the Amorites. They could take wives if they wanted. If they like them, if they're going to war with the nation and they like those women, they can take them as their wife. The only condition is she has to pare her nails back, shave her hair, because to give her time to mourn that she lost their family and all this stuff, and then they can be absorbed into the tribe of Israel, and then their hair grows back and all this kind of stuff. But that shows you that they're not happy about being taken by the Israelites. That's why they shave their hair and they mourn. And Paul says not to do that in a church. Like, don't shave your head, because traditionally a woman that had a shaved head didn't want to be there and was in a state of mourning and weeping and all this, and she's very sad and angry and everything. You don't want those type of people in church. And the same thing, men wearing hair, it's not natural. Long hair like that, it's rebellious. Back in the day, we see this as an example of the Danites. They couldn't be controlled. Nobody can control them, and if you speak, they're going to run you through the sword. So I think this is probably one of the major reasons why the Danites are not mentioned in the book of Revelation. So thank you guys for hanging around for the last half hour. I appreciate you guys a lot. You don't want to miss the next video. You just don't want to miss the next video. So if you see it up here, just click on the next video and we'll continue our journey into uncharted waters. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Go there now. Bye.